Good day, folks. Welcome to Application Project 1, Financial Statement Analysis. This is the instructions for the spring semester of 2021. Brief summary of the project. The idea of this is for you to apply the concepts discussed in our lectures to a real company using real data. The first step in this is understanding the company. The application project is worth 12 points, 12% of your grade. There are 4 distinct parts of the project, and the points for each section are identified. This project is due no later than 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, March 1st, 2021. The submission format is a PowerPoint, and I need you to do an audio or video commentary to explain things and what they mean. The grading was going to be based on organization and presentation. Very important to be able to effectively communicate what you're doing. It demonstrates an understanding. Accuracy of computation and formulas, 25%. Clarity and depth of responses is 30%. Do you really understand it, or are you really asking a question by what you're saying? And then how do you integrate the topics together into a logical model? Now, how does one area impact another? How are they related to each other? What companies will you be working on? Well, you can pick your own, okay? If you're going to pick your own that's not on one of these, please let me know. We can look at FedEx, we could look at Boeing, Valero, Bed Bath, or Beyond. Now, if you want to do another company, that's fine. Each one of these companies has a lot of information available online in their 10K, their 10Q, investor slide decks, and other sources that you should be able to get a lot of information on these companies. What are the mechanics? Where do you get information? I just said the 10K, 10Q, investor presentation. Some companies have infographics. So part 1, the company and how they make money, 4 points. What's the company's name and logo? What are the products and services sold by the company? What are the company's customers? Think all carefully, not always the end user. Okay? There's oftentimes people in between. So if we take a company like Molson Coors, you and I as the end consumer are not the customer of Molson Coors. They sell to distributors who sell to retailers or bars who sell it to us. So understanding that process becomes important. What makes the company unique? What's unique about that? How do they make money? This comes back to the revenue drivers. There's the volume and the rate driver at a detailed level. Now, you can't, for many of the companies that we've laid out there, there's multiple business lines, okay? So you're going to have to break out the different lines of business. Now, in 311, we may not have done that. You may not have done that. But in this one, we need to break it down to a detailed level. This whole thing should be about 4 to 6 slides. Now, once you come up, let me give you an example of what I mean on this. The name of this company is Destination Extra Large. And what you can see is I used a mixture of words and pictures. And they have 345 stores. They have a unique customer. Males of all ages, waist size 38 and up. I'm trying to communicate visually. Customer values convenience, comfort, selection, and fit over price. This is what makes their business model very unique. Here's their products. And again, it's trying to create an image for you. When we look at the stores, they have wide aisles, large changing rooms, on-site tailoring, more brands, bright atmosphere. So this gives you a picture of who their customer is, what their products are. How do they make money? Pretty straightforward. They have stores, and it's sales per store. So if I look in February of 18, they had 342 stores, average sales of 1.36 million, and when I do the computation, I come out pretty much the same. So if I want to grow destination extra large, I can either increase the number of stores or I can sell more in a store. Those are my only two ways I can grow. So when we look at their strategy, we want to say, what are they going to do to open stores? What are they going to do to sell more in each store? Next example is one that we'll be following throughout the semester, and that's Steel Dynamics. And again, when we take a look at it, we can see what they produce, what their products are, types of steel. Here's their sales by end market, so we get a sense of big something, who they are. They're diversified. Their products, okay, and their biggest product here is flat roll. So I put a picture of flat roll steel in. Who's their customer? Well, I identified it by industry type. And most of this I found in the investor presentation or the 10K. Now, it's a little different. How do they make money? Well, this is where you got to take a look through the 10K. Really read the 10K before you get started. And what I found when I read it is this piece here, other operating information, and a lot of companies have this, sales price per ton. So if this is the sales price per ton, I had to look at what is the amount, how much tonnage did they produce? Because here I see a volume, tons are a volume. Here is a per ton of sales price. So I can come here and say, okay, tons of steel, 2,489,000 right here, $988 a ton, and my computed sales and my reported. There's a difference. I won't hit it all, but this gives me a basic sense of how they make money. So if we're looking at sales and we're looking at how they make money, it's the number of tons of steel sold and how much they sell it for. I then was able to go down and look at it by business. And then I was able to do some computation, which you'll do in the next project, that breaks the change in sales down to an amount attributable to volume and attributable to rate. And I found a graph. So what I concluded here is strong domestic demand coupled with lower imports resulted in imported increased demand, and I was able to get a better price because the competitors, which were foreign steel companies, now had to pay a tariff coming in, or the consumer, U.S. consumer had to pay, U.S. customer, and that enabled the company to raise their prices. They also went from utilizing 92% of their capacity to 96%. Now this means there was a lot of fixed cost that they were able to grow their business without making a lot of capital expenditures. This is going to limit future sales growth because when they're running at 96, they only have capacity for 4% more growth. So you can't run always a factory at 100%, but you can't go beyond that tons. That's limited. This right up here, this just about 10,000 million tons, that's about their limit. So they're going to have to make an investment to go forward. Part 2, strategy for the future. This is worth 3 points. Identify 3 strategies the company is planning on implementing to grow revenues. Okay, you can find this information in the investor presentation. They often have webcasts, press conferences. So if you walk, run, work out, or just hang around the house, you can listen to these as you're doing other things to get a good understanding of what's going on. Use the slides. You don't need to reinvent the wheel on this if it's very clear. Now, one of the things that I want to point out, this is about revenues. If a company plans on cutting expenses or working on efficiency, that's not going to grow revenue. It'll reduce costs, which will increase profit, but it's not a strategy to grow revenues. We want to focus on what they're doing to grow revenues. Okay? And in this world of COVID-19, we're seeing companies having different strategies. We need to look at that. You then want to relate the strategy to your volume and rate drivers that you identified. So that strategy, that's part 2, 3 points. If you can quantify the future impact, great. So let's take a look at Steel Dynamics. Rate and volume drivers, but what is it that the company is doing? So this is for Steel Dynamics. They're going to expand existing capacity by building new lines and mills. They're going to expand their product lines by acquiring companies, and there's a list. The risks, long-term framework to construct new facility. It takes time to build a plant, and the market demand may change. And what we're seeing with COVID-19 clearly has changed that. Ability to keep projects within budgets. Ability to find acquisitions at a fair price. So that's the summary of what they're going to do. But this is right out of their investor presentation. These are the things they're going to do. Okay? And they're giving you dates. When is this going to be implemented? Okay? So we're able to evaluate it, and how does that relate to drivers? Second one, expand value-added products, higher margin by growing organically within. They're focused on markets that are poised for growth, increase utilization, increase sales of about 750. So they told me, risk to strategy, market demand. And again, this walks me through, and you can see that with the utilization, here it is, plan to sell 100,000 tons, plan to supply 150 to 200, increase production up to 240. So now I know what they're doing to drive the volume. Okay? I'm trying to understand the company. The next section is mega trends, which we discussed in the first lecture of the class. Again, 3 points. What I would do is create a chart to explain how these mega themes impact the company, or how the company is adapting to them. So when we look at this, the globalization, what is the company doing around that? So you list these 4, and you're going to try to get a sense of what are they doing around these things. Remember, we're going to value the entire company. The more we understand about it, the better. So that's megatrends. The next piece is ESG, and this is worth 2 points. Hopefully the math adds up. I'll go back and check it, so if it doesn't and my voice add up, it will add up in your notes. So review the company's website. Do they have an ESG report? If so, what are the key components? Does the most recent 10K have any disclosures on ESG? If so, what's disclosed? And let me take a look now. I'm going to walk you through Steel Dynamics. They produce what's called a sustainability report. The most recent one was 2019, and that's a little bit dated. But what they talk about is there's 6 pillars, and the team's execution on them is what's going to drive their sustainability, which picks up ESG. And you can tell a couple of them are very broad, okay? And as I dug deeper, what did I find? They don't use the words ESG anywhere, okay? They use the word sustainability. When I went through the sustainability report, safety and environmental impact are their main focus. They have measurements that they've used and strategies for what they're going to do forward to increase safety and improve their carbon footprint, their environmental impact. So from that perspective, it's good. Other areas are very general. There's no measurements, okay? Reviewed the 10K management discussion and notes. I didn't find anything on ESG, no discussion other than litigation around environmental matters. So that's sort of what I'm looking for there. What I'd like you to do is put this all together in one piece. What should you expect? Now, spend time reading the investor presentation in the 10K. Don't just jump into this, okay? We talk about in one of the other lectures, sources of information, how to read it. Go look at management analysis, management discussion, part 7, and look at the financials, look at the notes. I suggest you take 90 minutes just reading before you do anything. Understand the company. Be wary about hanging on to too narrow a piece of the company. And oftentimes, if you don't look at the 10K in the investor deck at all, you may tend to focus on something that is not as material as it may appear to be. Just about everything you need should be in those documents. You can use outside sources, of course. The project should take you about 4 to 5 hours after you spend 90 minutes reading. Now, once you do your presentation, what I'd like you to do is a voice and or video voiceover or a full audio video production around it. You can do that in PowerPoint, you can do that in Zoom, and a lot of other software out there that's pretty neat. Why do I want you to do that? Because sometimes instead of throwing tons of stuff on the slides, keep the slides simple and talk. Demonstrate what you know. Tell the story. Doing in part 1 is fundamental. Everything is based on what we're doing here. If you have any questions, please let me know.